if you wanted to play the best footy, you came to Scottsdale and played.
He just said to the rest of the bloke, back to the centre, boys, he won't miss.
I just love to wear the Scottsdale Footy Club jumper.
It's a very history-dominated club.
Attack! 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 Retaliation! Get down! Retaliate!
Mathew Lethborg, good to see you, mate.
Great to see you too, Rick.
Firstly, you're living on the mainland now. How's life for you over there?
Yeah, great. Got my family, lovely wife and 2 daughters now, so life's very different over there now.
Yeah. And you love coming back?
I do, yeah, I enjoy it. The last two years have been COVID, so haven't had a chance to get back as much, but yeah, I do really enjoy coming back and enjoy rolling back over that sidling.
Yeah. And it must bring back some great memories. We look out here on a lovely day, and the ground looks absolutely amazing. But this place must bring back a lot of memories, because you were virtually born into here, weren't you?
Yeah, I was. Same before. My mother showed me a card when I was born, 1975 when I was born. Welcome little magpie Matthew from the Scottsdale Footy Club. So I was pretty much lived and breathed the club rooms over there. I slept in there and on bassinets and in this grandstand, played all through my childhood, and yeah, football was pretty much what I grew up on, to be honest.
A good marketing tool to send the old birth card there. You really had no choice, did you?
Very good marketing tool. It's like the old AFL membership these days. You sign up your boy or girl as a member. That's what they did pre-membership at Scottsdale, I guess. Signed you up and away you went.
Indeed. Of course, your father, renowned as probably one of the greatest ever Scottsdale footballers to have played. What are your early memories? Because I guess, as you said, you were born into football pretty much. What are some of your early memories of actually watching footy?
I remember the crowds being massive. I do. I struggle to remember my father back in the glory days of the 70s and early 80s. I remember him coaching the grand final in '84 and they won. They beat Launceston, I think it was, in '84. I remember that one very vividly. But yeah, growing up, I just remember, 3 brothers, the younger one's too younger, Christopher, but Brett and Shane, we used to run around non-stop here. And then after the game, we used to go in the change rooms and have a shower with all the footballers, because we were that dirty and red mud anyway. That's one of my earliest memories. But my father, I heard great stories about him. Very, very, very good footballer, as I understand it.
It's a very tight-knit community, and no doubt a lot of the players, a number of them are good mates with each other still. Do you think it's because it's a small town and the majority of players come from, I guess, the greater Scottsdale area, particularly now with the NEFU having folded 4 or 5 years ago? Do you think that has a lot to do with it? Yeah,
it does. Living in the mainland now and playing footy in Queensland and Melbourne, the benefit of Tasmanian football is that it's a community spirit. Like, every town has a football side, and that's the hub of the town. You got the pub usually and the football side, and Scottsdale's a little bit out of the way, so an hour from Launceston, and it's our own little area here, and so everyone's sort of parochial. And back before, when Tassie football was big in the 60s and 70s, this was it. There's no football on TV back then, was there? So this was the people's entertainment. Yeah.
So, Matty, getting on to your career, you played almost 200 games, I think, with the Scottsdale Footy Club. Can you remember your first senior game well?
Yeah, I do. It was 1992. We played Burnie down at West Park, and I was only a 16-year-old. No idea what I was doing. I think I was out of my comfort zone very much. I'm very, very nervous, and I can recall this Troy Milne, who you talked to before. Him and I were playing, and a guy called Peter Barlow, I remember him as this big, tall, bit of a tough nut, his eyes rolled over his head, white line fever sort of guy. I remember he sort of grabbed Troy and threw Troy to the ground and was about to scruffle him up. I come across and don't know what I was going to do. I sort of grabbed him and I don't think he just blew me off. And I recall, Peter Roosendale, the big fella he was playing, so he'd just come across and just pushed myself and pushed Troy out of the way and just grabbed this guy and just shook him and just threw him to the ground. And so, we sort of walk around a little bit taller then, didn't we?
Everything was good.
Everything was good. So, that was our first game. I remember it vividly. I'm sure Peter probably wouldn't remember it, but Troy and I, we speak about it a little bit actually.
Certainly, obviously an absolutely brilliant footballer in his own right, but probably a pretty good fella to have in your corner.
He was, back then it was, we had a lot of younger people, but they had the really good sides of the 80s, just finishing their careers. So, a lot of them play with my old man as well. A little bit of protective of me. I guess I grew up in the club, so.
Yeah, and that was an era when it was, I guess, the NTFL as well. So I'm thinking of a couple of players that ended up after their VFL careers. Jimmy Jess and Mark Lee from Richmond went to Burnie. Was that in that time?
They played that game,
They
yes.
did?
Yeah, they played in that game. That was, again, it was pretty thrilling. Was it Dale Waitman and Jimmy Jess, you said? Yeah.
Mark Lee.
Mark
Lee,
Lee.
he came down. He was a ruckman there for Burnie for a while.
Yeah, he did too. That was it. Okay, I do remember that. Oh, memories. Yeah, that was pretty exciting. I do remember that one.
Yeah. I guess as a youngster growing up and watching the VFL and seeing a couple of players, it must have been a big highlight. But
it was.
Luckily, you didn't get decked by the nutter.
No, or was it the Flying Ghost? Is it Jim Jess, wasn't
That's
it?
Yeah.
Yes, that was pretty
Brilliant.
lucky.
Yeah. And when you look back in your career, what are you most proud of? What are some of the highlights for you personally?
Oh, I'm proud. I did stick around and become a life member of the club. My uncle, my two uncles are life members. My father a life member. I think my grandfather's a life member. So I'm proud of that. To be honest, I could have went and played other places. I was living in Launceston at the time, so I was travelling out.
Yeah.
But I'm proud I stuck and played, and I got to play with all my mates growing up, and that was my attraction of staying here.
And premierships, I guess, that's the ultimate success as a team. It's a team game as well.
Yes. Premierships, I only won the one premiership here at Scottsdale. 2001. Yep. Against Georgetown. We were the underdogs very much so that game. Fun enough with that game. I actually remember the exact time I knew we won it. Which was the first bounce after the third quarter. Myself, Heath Blair and Scott Blackwell, we had this plan. We tried it for 4 weeks beforehand and completely stuffed it up every time. And if you go watch a replay of it, you'll see I went and shepherded Scott's man. Scott come around the back and Blair tapped it. We tried it for 4 weeks in a row and completely stuffed it up, and we actually got it right and kicked a goal. I went back to Heath and Troy. Then I said, we've actually got this game. Anyway, so
that was the moment.
That's the moment. I remember it very vividly, that moment.
Yeah. Your mum obviously she had a very long association with the club as well. She was a trainer for a long period of time. 4 boys playing for the Scottsdale Footy Club. How was she as a trainer? Because I guess there'd be an element where, as a parent, she'd be nervous about her 4 boys out there playing, whether it was reserves or seniors. But talk about her influence.
Yeah, she was. She was a great influence. I remember when it first happened, I was a bit, what's my mother doing in the change rooms? But then, she was great. She was always. I used to get stirred a fair bit about it. I had that much water coming to me. I was always the first to get my ankles strapped and my legs rubbed. And if any of us hit the ground hard or got hit or something like that, she was just there. I did get stirred up a bit about it from the boys around it all, and same as my other brothers as well. So I think, we probably had a bit of preferential treatment there, I would have thought, but it goes with the turf. No, she was great. She was here for a long, long time.
And she loved the role, didn't she? She also had an opportunity. She was chatting to me a few weeks ago with Hawthorn as well, and she's had an opportunity there.
Yeah, she was very excited about that, running water for Hawthorn. That was great for her. It was really good because you got to see my father do all the early years, and then she actually got involved very later after that. So it's good. She loves the club.
And do you keep in touch with a lot of the Scott? You're living, as you said, you've been in interstate now for nearly 20 years. You still close contact with a lot of your old teammates?
I am. I've been from a country town. We're not talkative sort of guys, so we mightn't see each other for 6 or 12 months, but when we do, it's just like old times again, and just have a good laugh and pretty much take up the conversation where it left 12 months ago, really, and away you go. It's like nothing changed. I've got friends here that I played footy with. They own the Lord's Hotel here, and it's good they're still all in the community. It's something, if I ever look back, I actually do miss. Miss that, because I'm in Melbourne. I haven't got a community club, and that's something big. I can't bring my children here and say, Dad played here, and have a good, just a laugh and a beer in the wet area watching the local game. And just reminisce. Like, we're old men now, aren't we? So reminisce about old times.
That's all we've got.
I'll
be greyer than you.
That's all we've got. So I do miss that.
So when you come back here and you're back here for a little break and you look out there onto the ground, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
It's quite funny. I get quite excited once I get over the top of the sideline and come down. So I've travelled it that often, and I do get a bit, not heartfelt, but I do miss it. I really do. But life changes and in different directions. Great memories. The ground's actually looking a great nick. I wish it was that nick when I was playing. It's really good memories here. I'm glad to see the club hasn't had that much success on the field the last 10 or so years, but I know off the field they're financially very well. They've got a good young committee, as I understand. I'm always speaking to them about the footy club, always ringing up how they're going, always keeping an eye on the scores and things like that. So, it is good to see.
Well, look, I know the Lethborg family have been great contributors to the club for decades and decades, but good to catch up with you. Thanks for taking some time out.
Thanks, Rick. Appreciate it.
You.
Good on you, mate.
Well, I'm here with 3 legends, I'm told, of the Scottsdale Women's Football Club. They are all premiership players, winning their inaugural premiership back in 2017. Ladies, good to see the 3 of you. Welcome. It's a very important part of Scottsdale Football Club history, what's happened over the last few years, and I know it'll be looked upon for decades and years to come with the club. But a little bit about the 3 of you, I guess, firstly, and your pathway into football. Miranda, I know football's been a big part of your family since, you were a little tot, but what are your earliest memories of football?
Running around at different grounds, whether it be Ulverston or Smithton, and Dad playing and pushing other little kids in prams, basically.
And for those who don't know, obviously Peter Roosendale was your father and was an absolute champion footballer. And did you love football as a child?
I love it. Yeah, absolutely loved it from forever. I have memories of it, fantastic memories of it. Love it in every way.
So how big a moment was it for you when women's football evolved and became a thing, and then to the day that Scottsdale got their only team? What did that mean to you?
I was actually nervous, and I think from coming from such a family that is known in the football world, be it like my brother or my dad, is it my thing? As well, coming from different sports and what expectations there might be. So for myself personally, nervous but so excited to be able to finally join in and experience what they talk about continuously and still do. So.
And what was their reaction? Proud, supportive, all of that?
Very much so. Interesting. It was sort of like, was I going to give it a go? And then when I said, I'm really into it, I want to go and try it, then definitely supporting and a lot of guidance, as you can imagine. good and bad. But yeah, no, very supportive in it, so
Fantastic.
for sure, yeah.
And Keeley, for you, what are your earliest memories of footy and you getting involved? Because footy wasn't your background as such.
No, we did follow the football because netball was quite connected with football, and I was always playing that. So we were always following a football team around the northeast, and I had uncles and a younger brother who played, but Dad wasn't a footballer by any means of the imagination. So yeah, my earliest memories would just be following around, and that's what you did on the weekend. That's what Saturdays were about. They were netball and football, and after the netball was finished, that's what we did, watch the footy.
And Laura, for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Very much the same experience as Keeley. Very aware of football and always wanted to play and have a kick. Running out half time. My family are probably more football orientated in the south of the state, so spent a lot of time watching my cousins, but was always very interested and always loved to get hold of the ball. Didn't know how to use it per se, but used to try and roost it anyway. So we'd always attempt to have a kick. And I suppose your mind never really allowed you to go there in regards to I could play football, so you kind of just shut it down from that point, really. Yeah.
For any new team into sport, into football, the hardest thing is probably what we can see behind us is the club song. How did you go with that? Like when you win at home, but your first away win, you probably didn't have the words in the change rooms. How did that all go? Was it an absolute disaster? Or?
Yeah, we were having a bit of a chat about that earlier, just outside, and the girls, we were trying to collate our memories from that time. We had a couple of home games and successful games, and Keeley alluded to the fact that a lot of the girls used to run into the change rooms, and it wasn't about grabbing a beer or getting changed or getting first to the shower. It was more about facing the team song that was up on the wall because we were unable to memorise it, or we weren't very versed in the team song yet. Lucky enough to have some wins early, but yeah, there was still a little bit of quiet times through the song.
Okay.
And we used to race so we could see it, and we could, if Alex wasn't close by, you were always in a bit of trouble.
And we did say there was a team member who had printed out the words to the song. Yeah, would take it around. So.
Wow. Well, Miranda, you surely didn't have any excuses growing up in a football family with the Scottsdale Football Club. You would have known off the top of your heart, wouldn't you?
Basically.
Yeah.
I had no choice.
So you weren't given the voice to start the song?
Oh, I think again, between Alex and myself, we had it covered.
2017 must have been a pretty special year, obviously winning that first premiership. You all played together. So what are your memories of that day?
The premiership day?
Yeah.
Nerves, excitement. We had our team around us, we had our family around us, but we had the community around us as well. And it wasn't just the Scottsdale community, it was the Northeast community. I actually get goosebumps. It was a fantastic day. To be able to relive that again would just be amazing. And I think I'm probably really fortunate, the fact that I did get to experience that, because there are so many people that play for 20, 30 years and they never experience a premiership. We walked in on that year. We've worked hard to get it, but yeah, to be able to experience the first time around was just amazing.
Yeah, and for you guys, any personal memories that stick out on that day?
Probably it was pretty amazing sitting in the change rooms and having, like Miranda's just mentioned, that buy-in from the community. So you could potentially see each game us getting more people to the middle of the ground when Cabel was speaking, more people in the change rooms after the game. Those barriers started to come down around the female change room. We set some parameters and it was amazing prior to the game, listening to Cabel speak and standing behind us and seeing some people that would usually be at men's games in the same context around us. So some legends of the club were standing up on the change room wall listening to Cabel's pre-game address. So that was a pretty cool moment.
Yeah. You're nodding your head.
Yeah, definitely. And I just think, I think about how it was to sit and look at the other players and see how different players handle a grand final game. You have those that are sitting there absolutely nerve-wracked, and then you have the others who are thriving on it. But each of those players, use that to their advantage. So, yeah. And I do think a big thing I remember is that it being played at Rochalee. So that I don't know if we knew that that's where it was going to be the whole entire time, but that was quite different because not a lot of finals were played just at local clubs. So, yeah.
2019, I think you lost the grand final, night grand final to South Launceston, and then 2020 was a bit of a weird year, but it was an opt-in competition, but you won the grand final that year. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, you kicked your one and only career goal in that grand final, which was the sealer. And I remember commentating that game at the ground. I think it was at Bridgenorth. And it looked like a scene out of the Muppet Show down the other end where everyone was in uniform, they dressed up that day, and they absolutely went off. That must have been pretty cool.
That was actually awesome. And because I just make a habit of not going in the forward 50 because I much prefer to be in the middle and the back. But obviously the opportunity arose and it was the most horrid kick. But but it went through and I've never been so excited in my whole entire life.
Last couple minutes. Now picked up by Lester. Lester runs, straightens, and I think she's gold. And you can see the fans going bananas as Lester may have kicked a huge goal there for Scottsdale.
Yeah, I don't know. I just got to get to that forward 50 line. I'm like, that's not my job. Yeah. So for that to happen, and I think I've watched it back and I can hear Cabel when it happens, and I think I was just as in shock as he was.
Right.
Yeah.
Were you going to cop a spray thinking, what the hell are you doing down there, Keeley? That's not your position if it hadn't have gone through. Did you think about that at all?
No, so I'd been sent into the middle. So I'd been playing in the back all day and then I'd been sent into the middle and I can remember thinking to myself, oh my God, I'm so tired. Because I don't know, like it's just a different fitness level.
It's a big ground too.
Yeah, that's right. So, but it was just, the opportunity was there and I thought, God, I better do something with it. Yeah.
And football now, as we, obviously 2021's finished, we're still in COVID, but we're hopefully looking forward to 2022. Not all going to be playing football, but have some association and still following the club. Miranda, firstly, as well. I mean, you got a family. It's tough as well, isn't it?
I do, yeah. So played last year. I'm not playing it this year. Family life's got in the way of that. So with 3 young children, and they all play footy as well. So I've got 2 girls and a boy, and they all play the junior footy. And the last couple of years, I've coached in the junior footy here at Scottsdale, and my husband also coaches in the junior footy, and he is this year. So that's our football this year, and I think that's enough.
And just finally, I don't know if any of you, this is totally off the top of my head here, but have got a view on this. There are so many sports now competing for women to play. Is there anything that you would like to see happen that's not happening at the moment that you think, to win? Because we see obviously the pathways with basketball now and with netball. Is there anything that you've thought of that we don't see or haven't seen yet that you think should be considered by the bosses?
Probably I've done a bit of netball coaching, and probably the differential I see there is that women have a lot to offer in regards to coaching. So there's some very specific sports coaching that we can all probably potentially agree on, and skills that require you to coach netball or footy, but there's some women that can offer some amazing insights into even the men's game. And I think there just has to be an understanding that there's so much knowledge to be, the way we implemented zones and things like that when we play footy, it was second nature to us because we've done it in other contexts. Women have just got so much to offer in regards to the football field, and that might hurt a few egos, but women that are well trained and in that area most definitely would.
Yeah, and I think that we've done a lot of watching of football. Like I've watched a lot of football, and that's what I always said to my husband, and that I've watched a lot of football and I've watched what's been done good and what hasn't been so good, So I've been able to implement that through my junior coaching as well, which I think has been beneficial and effective. So
Brilliant. Well, look, it's great that women's football has found its way up in the northeast and is thriving, and with the junior pathway as well, with so many girls and boys playing. I wonder what you've done to put Scottsdale on the map with their women's footy team and the successes that have come along as well. Thanks for coming today.
Thanks very much.
Thanks.